Folks, have you ever watched my videos about Nigel Richards and wondered how the heck does anyone ever beat this guy? Well, I have won 6 out of my 8 games against him in my career, and I'm here to tell you that it's actually a very simple 2-step approach. Step 1, dedicate 5 to 10 years of your life to learning the Scrabble dictionary completely cold. Step 2, get paired up against Nigel and draw incredibly, amazingly, unrelentingly well while he draws complete trash. Well, there you have it. That is how to beat the Scrabble GOAT, Nigel Richards. If you got something out of this video, consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. All right. Seriously though, I know you're wanting to see some examples of this strategy in action. So in this video, we're going to break down my second ever game against Nigel to show you exactly what I'm talking about. This game takes place in round 21 at the 2014 North American Championship, and I have the first move and play Zag for 26. In the North American lexicon, the Z only overlaps with the A, and I have one in reserve, so this is a solid defensive opening if Nigel doesn't have an A or an S. He responds with Z for just 14, suggesting that while he probably has neither of those letters, he likely has good bingo tiles in reserve. After Z, I'm reluctant to play the standard move of Aulic for 20, opening the board for 7s ending in D, R, or G, so I play Guayak for 13 here instead. This is definitely a mild mistake. If I'm worried about Nigel having 5 strong tiles after Z, I should be playing Gazed instead to keep the board nice and tight. Fortunately for me, Nigel answers with How for 18, opening the left side a bit more, and I draw the first blank and the X out of the bag. Normally, the blank is good for bingoing and the X is good for scoring with shorter words, so you'll need to use the X first, then shoot for a bingo later. This is where step 1 of my plan comes into action. Something like Gox or Coxing is normally solid here, but I have one insane standout play, and fortunately I spotted it immediately. Gloxinia for 119 points, putting the X in the perfect spot to max out my score. Of course, this play opens the board to all manner of counterplay for Nigel, and I'm bracing myself for the worst after his 2 short plays. But his response, the light hitting, oozed for only 21. My draw, on the other hand, includes the first S of the game along with balanced bingo tiles, and I jump even further ahead with my second straight bingo of tunnels for 75, closing a lot of the space that Gloxinia opened up. Next, Nigel plays Caw for 30, his highest scoring play of the game so far, which says a lot. I draw another nice looking assortment of tiles from the bag. These tiles can form the 7-letter word primate, but there's no space on the board to play it. However, there is one 8-letter word available, Impactor for 67, my third straight bingo. I'm now up by a shocking score of 300 to 83. Nigel cuts into the massive deficit a bit with Cats for 50. This was an interesting play because Impactor creates a huge S hook for me to worry about. I'm definitely concerned that Nigel has a second S in reserve and that he's gunning for a big bingo there to jumpstart his comeback. While my draw after Impactors isn't the best, I do draw an S of my own. I could play this for 42 to block the hook, but that play would leave the very ugly JRRW combo for next turn. So I decide to play Jiver for 30, leaving the much more balanced RSW. If Nigel doesn't have the fourth and final S or the second blank, I'm the one who will be hitting the huge hook next turn. Nigel responds with Took for 28. Sook would have scored 54 points here, which would be a lot to give up if he had that S. Still, I can't rule out that he's holding on to it and setting up a second huge hook for it on the far right column. To my 3-consonant leave, I draw 3 more consonants, but 1 vowel is just enough for me to cash in my S hook with Muse for 48, scoring very well while diffusing the danger of that spot. Now trailing by over 200, Nigel decides to throw a Hail Mary with Avion for 18, placing a tile in the triple lane. With the second blank still lurking unseen to me, I absolutely have to play in the newly opened area to prevent triple triples, and the simple frat for 33 blocks the spot and balances my rack nicely. Nigel answers with yo for 30, and I'm stunned when, to my AENR leave, I draw the fourth and final S. I draw two I's with it as well, which would sometimes be unfortunate. In this case, it completes my rack to give me the obscure but high probability bingo of Scenarii for 89, hooking Tukes to pump up my lead to just shy of 300 points. This is my fourth bingo of the game to Nigel's 0. Of course, whenever Nigel draws bingos, he always finds them. And with the second blank in hand, he finally gets one down in bag-like for 72, his only 7-letter word. Next, I can play blood for 29, which is probably the right move here. Instead, I play the similar doubloon for 27, using an extra tile to get to the end of the game ASAP. With two tiles in the bag, Nigel plays the nice parallel of Pyre for 39, bringing us to the endgame. My best move here is Eerie for 28, leaving the and thin as outplays next turn. My choice of retie is 2 points back, and after Nigel's customary perfect endgame play of Thed for 13, I finish with my top scoring outplay of A for 19 for a final score of 580 to 343. 2014 just wasn't Nigel's year. His eventual 16th place finish was by far his lowest ever at a North American Championship, as he started slow with 4 losses in his first 7 games and never rose to the top 5 in the standings throughout the event's 31 rounds. Going into this game, I had also lost 4 out of my last 5 games, so it wasn't the best thing for my comeback chances to see Nigel sitting across the board from me, but on the other hand, it is always a privilege to play against the GOAT. After 5 years of focused dictionary study, I was able to spot gloxinia when the opportunity presented itself, and that led to an avalanche of more good tiles and bingos en route to my blowout win. According to the annotated game database at crosstables.com, my 237-point win against Nigel was the 4th biggest loss of his career. And zooming out to the top 10, I'm actually on this list 3 times in total, with nobody else appearing more than once. This isn't because I have some secret knowledge about how to beat Nigel. It's almost purely a function of extreme good fortune. Yes, I did have to know the word gloxinia and find it over the board, but any number of expert players would have done exactly the same in my shoes. If you want to see these other 2 games against Nigel, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out, and I plan on doing breakdowns of both of them very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.